A new chapter. Morgan confirms pregnancy and shares her excitement. It was a quiet morning inside the Big Brother 27 house. The usual noise, the laughter, the teasing. Everything felt strangely distant that day. Morgan sat alone near the corner of the living room, wrapped in her gray blanket, her eyes lost in 1,000 thoughts. The world outside didn't know what was happening inside her heart, and neither did anyone inside that house. She had always been one of the brightest faces in the house, full of life, laughter, and energy. But for the past few days, something had changed. She had grown quieter. Her smiles had become shorter, her eyes heavier. She'd often sit by herself after everyone had gone to sleep, staring at the ceiling, lost in thoughts she couldn't share. Earlier that morning, before the lights came on, Morgan had gone into the bathroom with shaking hands. The sound of her heartbeat was louder than her footsteps. She stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the small white stick on the sink. Time slowed down. The house was silent, the world was asleep, and her life changed in that single moment. The test showed 2 lines. Faint but clear. She sat down on the cold floor, her knees pulling up to her chest as tears began to fall silently. The air around her felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were listening. She wanted to scream, but all that came out was a broken whisper. Why now? The game she had entered to win suddenly felt meaningless. The cameras that once felt exciting now felt like eyes watching her pain. She wasn't just a contestant anymore. She was a woman caught between fear and reality, between the world's gaze and her own secret. She looked into the mirror, the one she had laughed in front of countless times, and saw someone she didn't recognize. Someone scared. Someone lost. Someone who carried a heartbeat inside her, one she never expected. The morning sun slowly touched her face through the window. Outside, the garden was waking up. Inside, Morgan's world was falling apart. No one else knew. Not yet. But soon, everything would change. The day went on like any other inside the Big Brother 27 house. Laughter echoing from the kitchen, arguments over breakfast, playful teasing near the pool. But Morgan, she wasn't the same. She moved slower than usual, her eyes avoiding contact, her smile forced. When others laughed, she smiled quietly. When they talked, she listened, but her mind was somewhere else, trapped between fear and confusion. Vince noticed first. He had always been close to her, maybe closer than anyone else inside the house. He watched her from across the room, sensing something different. "You okay?" he asked softly when no one was around. Morgan nodded, too quickly, forcing a laugh that didn't sound like her. "Yeah, just tired," she said. But her voice cracked at the end. Vince didn't believe it, and deep down neither did she. Later that afternoon, during a group challenge, Morgan suddenly stepped away. Her hands trembled, her face pale. She leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. The others thought she was just feeling dizzy, maybe from the heat. But inside her, a secret was eating her alive. She went to her bed, lying still, staring at the ceiling. The cameras hovered above her, capturing every quiet moment, every tear she tried to hide. She knew she couldn't keep this secret forever. Inside this house, nothing stayed hidden. Night came. Most of the housemates were asleep. But Morgan sat by the window, her arms around her knees, looking at the stars through the glass. The reflection showed her tired face, her swollen eyes, and the pain she was trying to bury. She whispered to herself, almost inaudible, "I don't know what to do." And for the first time, she realized she wasn't scared of the game anymore. She was scared of the truth that was growing inside her. And what would happen when the world found out? Morning came again, but it didn't feel like morning. The house was filled with light, yet everything felt heavy, like the air itself carried a secret. Morgan woke up later than usual, her hair messy, her pillow wet from tears that had dried hours ago. She dragged herself to the kitchen, forcing a smile as she joined the others for breakfast. But her silence spoke louder than words. Everyone noticed. The way she barely ate, the way she looked away when someone made a joke, the way her fingers trembled when she held the coffee mug. "Are you sure you're okay?" This time, it was Ellie who asked. Her voice was gentle, careful. Morgan nodded, trying to sound casual. "Just not feeling great today." But her eyes told a different story. There was fear there, and guilt, like someone hiding a storm behind a calm face. Later that day, during a casual chat in the living room, someone joked, "Maybe Morgan's hiding a secret from Big Brother." Everyone laughed, except her. Her smile froze. For a second, her heart stopped. That one sentence echoed in her head all day. Hiding a secret. Yes, she was. That evening, while everyone was preparing dinner, Morgan stepped into the bathroom again. The same place where her life had changed days ago. She stood in front of the mirror, her hands shaking as she touched her flat stomach. She whispered softly, almost trembling, "I can't hide this forever." The reflection staring back at her wasn't a contestant anymore. It was a young woman standing on the edge of truth, torn between the game she entered and the life she was now responsible for. Outside, laughter filled the air again. The others didn't know that inside those walls, a secret was growing, one that could change everything. And that night, as the lights dimmed and the cameras watched silently, Morgan cried again, not out of weakness, but out of fear that tomorrow, someone would finally see through her smile. The next morning began with heavy silence. The Big Brother 27 house, usually alive with chatter, felt frozen. Morgan sat alone near the garden door, her face pale under the soft sunlight. The wind brushed her hair gently, but her thoughts were storming inside. She hadn't slept. Her mind was spinning through every possible outcome. What if the producers found out? What if the world outside already knew? What if Vince knew? Her hands rested protectively on her stomach without even realizing it. The small gesture didn't go unnoticed. Vince, standing near the kitchen, caught it. His eyes softened, realizing something he hadn't dared to believe. He didn't speak. He didn't ask. He just knew. Later that day, the housemates gathered for a group task. Morgan tried to join, pretending everything was normal. But when she bent down, a wave of dizziness hit her. She stumbled, nearly falling. Vince rushed to her side instantly, holding her steady. Everyone froze, their laughter fading into sudden concern. "You're not okay, Morgan," Vince whispered, his voice trembling. "You need to tell them. You need to tell someone." Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to say it, to tell him, to tell the world, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she shook her head, whispering, "Not yet, please." That night, while everyone slept, Morgan walked quietly into the confession room. The red light blinked above the camera, always watching. She sat down, her hands gripping the chair tightly. Her voice was soft but full of pain. "I don't know if I can keep this secret anymore," she said. "I'm scared. I didn't mean for this to happen. I don't even know what comes next." Her tears fell freely now. The camera stayed silent, but the weight of her words hung in the air. It was no longer about strategy or winning. It was about a life that had begun quietly, unexpectedly, inside a house built for entertainment. When she left the room, the night felt colder. The game had changed, but no one yet knew how much. Morgan looked up at the dark sky visible through the roof glass and whispered, "I just hope they'll understand." For the first time, she wasn't thinking about eviction, or fame, or winning. She was thinking about love, about fear, about a tiny heartbeat that could change everything. The next morning carried an uneasy calm, like the air itself was holding its breath. The Big Brother 27 house felt different. Whispers replaced laughter, and every glance carried quiet questions no one dared to ask aloud. Morgan stayed in her bed longer than usual. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying through the night. She heard the sounds of breakfast, dishes clinking, laughter forced, and she knew. They had started noticing. When she finally stepped into the kitchen, the room fell silent. All eyes turned to her, Vince, Ellie, Carter, everyone. Their faces were soft, uncertain, worried. Ellie spoke first. Her voice was careful, gentle. "Morgan, are you sure you're okay? You've been so quiet lately. We're worried." Morgan looked down at the floor. Her lips trembled, her fingers nervously twisting the edge of her sweater. Vince took a step closer, his eyes searching hers. No judgment, only care. "You don't have to hide anymore," he said softly. "Whatever it is, we're here." Those words broke her. The dam she had been holding for days finally shattered. Her knees grew weak as tears streamed down her face. Vince caught her before she could fall, holding her as she cried into his shoulder. Everyone froze, no one moved, no one spoke. The cameras zoomed in, quietly capturing the moment that changed everything. I'm pregnant, she finally whispered. Her voice cracked with both fear and relief. For a second, silence filled the room. Then Ellie's hands covered her mouth in shock. Carter whispered, "Oh my God." No one said a word of judgment. No one turned away. The house that had seen countless fights, lies, and betrayals suddenly felt human, real. As everyone stood together in quiet understanding, Vince's arms tightened around her. "You're not alone," he whispered. "You hear me? You're not alone." Morgan closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Not because the cameras were still rolling, but because she finally stopped pretending. Outside, the world would soon find out. The headlines would come, the speculation would start. But inside those walls, for one rare, fragile moment, it wasn't about the game. It was about compassion, about truth, about a woman who had finally found the courage to be honest with the world and with herself. The night after Morgan's confession was unlike any other in the Big Brother 27 house. The laughter had faded, the tension had vanished. What remained was silence, heavy yet strangely peaceful. For the first time, no one was thinking about nominations or strategy. They were thinking about her. Morgan sat alone in the backyard, the soft glow of the garden lights brushing against her face. The night air was calm, cool, almost comforting. Her hands rested gently on her stomach as she whispered softly, not to the cameras, not to the housemates, but to the tiny heartbeat inside her. "I don't know what the future looks like," she said quietly, "but I promise, I'll try my best." Inside, Vince watched her through the window. He didn't move or speak. He just stood there, eyes filled with tears he didn't want to hide anymore. In a house built on competition, he had found something real, something fragile, something worth more than any prize. Later, he walked outside and sat beside her without a word. For a while, they just sat there in silence. Then Morgan spoke, her voice trembling. "I thought everyone would hate me, that I'd ruin everything." Vince shook his head slowly. "You didn't ruin anything," he whispered. "You reminded all of us what it means to be human." Tears fell again silently, beautifully. The kind of tears that come when pain meets acceptance. One by one, the other housemates joined them outside. No one said much, just quiet hugs, soft words, and the kind of warmth that can't be faked. Ellie placed a hand on Morgan's shoulder. "You're stronger than you think," she said softly. The cameras kept recording, but this time the footage wasn't just reality TV. It was real life. A moment of pure emotion, where the walls of the game blurred, and hearts spoke louder than words. The night sky above them was full of stars. Morgan looked up and smiled through her tears. For the first time, it wasn't fear she felt, it was peace. She didn't know what would happen outside the house. She didn't know what people would say. But she knew this, she wasn't alone anymore. Somewhere inside that glowing house, between the noise and the silence, between endings and new beginnings, a tiny heartbeat echoed quietly, reminding everyone watching that even in the most unexpected places, life finds a way. Red Heart.